Hey everyone, this is Laura Gadenik with Laura Gadenik Astrology, and I'm here to give you the astrology for the week of January 18th through the 24th, 2021. So this is probably one of the biggest weeks of the year, and January and February in particular are two of the most intense months of the year. And that is because the Saturn-Uranus square is being especially highlighted. So to give some background information, this year, 2021, is about the Saturn-Uranus square. So squares is an aspect that is 90 degrees between two planets, and squares are of the nature of Mars, and Mars is a planet about conflict. So this is a tense relationship that these two planets are going to be having with each other all year. Saturn is a planet about rules, boundaries, tradition, that which has always been done, systems, that which is already established. Uranus is a planet about rebelling against those rules, about not following the rules, renovating the rules. Uranus is a planet about revelation, revolution, upheaval. It can be very chaotic, it can be very volatile, it's very disruptive in nature. So these two planets that have very opposing archetypal forces are butting heads this year, and we've already seen this. We saw this on January 6th, I believe it was, when Mars entered Taurus, which is where Uranus is right now. So Mars kind of acted as the timer when it entered Taurus to kind of highlight these issues that we're going to be dealing with all year. And Mars is a planet of war, right? It's the soldier, it's military, it's militarization, it's weapons, it's aggression, anger. Um, so, uh, yeah, this is the archetypal force that we are dealing with this year. And once again, every planet has its negative and positive qualities. Every aspect can manifest in a negative or positive way. Sometimes revolution is necessary to release us from the bondages of oppression, right? Sometimes Saturn can be oppressive. It can be, stick to the rules regardless of if it's not working for anyone. And sometimes we need a revolution. Sometimes we need to break free from oppression and from systems that are no longer working for us. And other times, revolution can be in the name of patriarchy or in the name of oppression, like white supremacy. Um, so the planets aren't on one side or the other, it's just reflective of the kind of energy that is underway. So that being said, so we've already seen these themes show up or come into our conscious awareness on January 6th, with, especially in the US with the protest or the more like rampage on the White House. So this week might have similar energy. It kind of depends. It doesn't necessarily have to get worse. It's just um, could be vamped up, could be more of the same. I mean, I don't think the White House will be taken by surprise this time because, the first surprise was on January 6th. But basically what's happening this week is Mars is conjoining Uranus and Taurus. So Mars, the planet of war, the planet of aggression, of weapons, of, Mars and Uranus are two planets that don't want to follow the rules. They don't give a flying shit about the rules. They're going to do their own thing. They're going to do whatever they want. They're the two rebellious planets. And with them coming together is enormously disruptive and chaotic. This is huge energy. So this is happening on Wednesday, the 20th. Um, you know, big energy, explosive, volatile. There's this huge urge for freedom. And I'm talking about the collective. This is kind of the collective energy. I mean, this might be affecting you in your personal life and in your personal birth chart if you have any planets around 6 degrees of Taurus. And that can be, you can think of 6 degrees for all of the fixed signs. So Taurus, Aquarius, Leo, and Scorpio. So if you have planets around those degrees, then this might be bringing up personal issues for you. Very likely it would. But there's a desire for independence from something that is perceived to be oppressive. And perceived is really important because something, can actually be oppressive and something can be perceived to be oppressive. And honestly, it's all about our perception anyway. Um, but this is Mars Uranus wants thrill, wants adventure. This is a combination of excessive self will, maybe even more selfish self will, reckless courage or defiance against the rules, impulsive, rash actions, flashes of anger. Be careful this week. I definitely don't recommend doing anything reckless or anything daring. The energy is not supportive for that. This is a time to be stabilizing, to really ground, especially because Uranus and Mars are squaring the planets in Aquarius, and Aquarius is an air sign and can be very heady. And I know Taurus is a sign about embodiment and pleasure and the physical world. Um, but Uranus is a planet that can be pretty anxious in nature, regardless of what sign it's in. And with Mars, Mars is a very fiery planet. It brings heat to whatever other planet it touches. So this, it's kind of like heating up the anxiety or the headiness, and especially with this squaring all the other planets in Aquarius, an air sign, which can also be quite heady and kind of ethereal and up in the clouds and very ideological and not very embodied. Anxiety, I wouldn't be surprised if anxiety is quite high right now. And um, so we need to do whatever practices we can to bring ourselves back down to earth, to do some grounding, to be in our body. Highly recommend meditation, five senses meditation, massage, body work, such as like somatics. My sister does something called somatics, and she's doing a 4-week breathing workshop starting tomorrow, I think. So anything like that would be very beneficial right now. And that's Wednesday the 20th, but that's going to be felt throughout the week, maybe even throughout next week. And what makes this particularly big is we have the luminaries highlighting this whole thing. So sometimes when planets, slower moving planets, they kind of represent the major theme of the year. And then the smaller or the slower moving planets, whenever they come into major aspect with those slower moving planets, they kind of act as a timer, and they can highlight the when the pockets of energy will be revealed. So what's happening on Tuesday the 19th is the sun is moving into Aquarius, where Saturn is. And so this is going to be the first time that the sun will conjoin Saturn later in the week in Aquarius in maybe like 29 years, because Saturn takes about 29 years to travel around the zodiac. So this does feel like the start of a new cycle of some sort. The sun is one of the luminaries that is like acting like that timer. And with it hitting the planet Saturn, planet of tradition, rules, regulations, systems, structures. Saturn is the planet that rules over our bones. It literally, it's the structure that holds our body together, holds us up. And you can relate that to in society, right? So there's something beginning, there's some sort of cycle that's starting afresh when the sun conjoins Saturn. But I want to talk a little bit more about the sun in Aquarius. So the sun in Aquarius is, this is the time of year where the sun is in the northern hemisphere, it's kind of the most dim. The light of the sun is dimmest. And the sun represents, our ego, our self-will, our who we know ourselves to be. It's kind of like our identity. And when it's in the sign where the light of our ego, of our self-will is dimmest, it's almost like our attention is on other people or on the group or the community. It's not on us. It's like opposite of that Leo energy, where Leo is like, look at me, look at how great I am, look at how creative and amazing and fantastic I am, which is great because I mean, we all deserve that attention a little bit, right? But in Aquarius, the sun is more focused on others, it's more focused on um, the group, community, those who don't belong in particular, outsiders. Um, Aquarius is fixed air. So, air sign is about building bridges, about relationships, communicating. And the fixed quality is non budging. So, this can be a very stubborn placement. Aquarius can get into the bad habit of thinking that they're right. Or, there can be a very self righteous quality to Aquarius, or, high-minded quality of like, no, I understand what's really going on. It can be a bit arrogant. So we got to watch out for those arrogant qualities, especially with Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius as well. So the sun's going to be in Aquarius for about a month, so those themes in general might be highlighted for you personally. um, being more group oriented, more community oriented, more maybe even like having high-minded ideological discussions that are very like heady and complicated, to be honest. Or you might have more of a focus on helping those who need a hand, helping those who um, are you perceive that don't belong in the group. Yeah. So yeah, the sun is kind of, it's coming into Aquarius, and then on Tuesday the 19th, Wednesday the 20th, we have the Mars conjunct Uranus. Simultaneously, the moon is entering Taurus as well, where Mars and Uranus are, and so that is acting as a timer as well. So yeah, I just find that really interesting because it's kind of like the moon and the sun will be making a square. So this is the first quarter square. And remember, last week we had the new moon in Capricorn conjunct Pluto, which is the planet of death and rebirth or transformation. And remember that the new moon tells us what the next month ahead is going to be like. So, transitions, transformations, especially regarding power. And of course, we have the inauguration in the US on the 20th, and which is the transition of power. Yeah, and I definitely wouldn't have chosen the 20th as inauguration day with this crazy astrology. But obviously that's, no one's really, at least, no one that I don't know that they're consulting astrologers in the White House. um, but yeah, so, there is this really, um, this energy of rebelling, of, going against the grain, of upheaval, volatility. There is going to be a lot of weapons and protection at the White House on the 20th, so that's very Martian. Um, like I said, it doesn't have to become more volatile than it's already been since Mars entered Taurus on January 6th. I wouldn't be surprised if something surprising happens, something a bit more chaotic. Not to say that it has to happen or that it will happen, but that is the archetypal energy that's being reflected. So, like I said, be careful of overdoing. This is not a great time to do any crazy tricks on your skateboard or to try anything too new or too difficult, because you might get hurt. And actually, that's funny. A funny story. Last week, I went snowboarding on Thursday, and my partner and I, we tried a new hill that we hadn't been down before, and I ended up just like eating shit. I just like had the worst fall and literally just like whiplashed myself. and I could like barely move my neck for a couple days. My like right butt cheek was incredibly sore. And I was just like, oh my gosh, why did I think that this was okay given the astrology of the week? You know, it was very symbolic, like whiplash. That's like a great word for the energy of the week is be careful of whiplash and practice grounding. Okay, so so Saturday the 23rd, Mars in Taurus then comes to the square with Jupiter in Aquarius. And not to say that Saturday is the only day that this will be felt, because this is already being felt. The moment that Mars entered Taurus is when all of this was being felt. So Saturday, there might be like a pinnacle or a peak to these archetypal forces together, but not necessarily. Um, but Jupiter tends to expand or enhance whatever planet it touches. So this could just be a time, like I said, where you might have the tendency to overexhaust yourself. Mars is the planet that rules over our energy, how we take action, our motivation, how we do things. And Jupiter is saying, yeah, do it bigger, do it better, you got it. You know, Jupiter is this very confident, happy go lucky planet. And it can really, you know, with the square, it's kind of like you might overexert yourself or overexhaust yourself. So this is a day of big confidence, lots of energy. Um, the warning here, however, Jupiter is a planet of faith, of what we believe, of moral convictions. So this might be a week or a time where in the collective there is action, Mars, based on moral righteousness, moral zealousness, moral conviction. Um, and we've already seen that. Like I said, we've already seen that on January 6th. The energy has already been activated, so to speak. So it's nothing really new. Um, yeah. So, and then on Saturday as well, that's when the sun conjoins Saturn. There's, you know, Saturn is kind of, it's a planet about dedication, commitment, principles, um, time and age, you know, that which is always worked. Why would we venture away from that? Um, and Aquarius is a sign about higher principles, like I said before, about ideology. So this might be kind of indicating this dedication to higher principles, to our ideology, especially with Jupiter in the mix. This can look like rigid fanaticism or like dogmatic confidence, like not budging, which can be kind of scary. You know, we have to really practice flexibility here, especially because the square is happening in fixed signs, which tend to not budge, like I said. Um, on a more personal level, you know, this could feel just very kind of like what I've been saying this whole time, like there's this need to see something through, to really pull through with this thing that's required patience and dedication and diligence and hard work. And you're just tired of it. You want to break free and rebel and do something different because maybe it might be a little bit boring. So on a personal level, that can show up as well. And then we do have a Venus sextile Neptune on Saturday as well, but honestly, it's going to be very subtle. It's probably going to be overshadowed by all of this other huge energy. But, you know, it's going to maybe add some peace to the day, hopefully. Um, Venus, planet about love, relationships, pleasure. Neptune is about dreams and visions and um, that which is like kind of on the other side of the veil, imagination. So this could be, you know, subtle aspect of love idealized. It's a very romantic, dreamy signature for relationships. It's nice. Oh, and I forgot to mention the other times of the year, going back to the when the Saturn-Uranus square is highlighted. So remember I mentioned that's the backdrop theme of the year, but there's certain times of the year where it's going to be especially highlighted, depending on where the other planets are. And so remember, these are the two extremes of departure from tradition, Uranus, needing to break free from rules, rebel, um, change, you know, versus Saturn, need for rule, structure, boundaries, systems, right? So the other times of the year where this is going to be really intense is June 14th through July 3rd. That's going to be a pretty big time of year. Probably a lot of protests of some kind, a lot of rebellion in some way, maybe some surprises, unexpected surprises that could be pretty upheavally or yeah, volatile is really a good word. Yeah. November 10th through the 17th is another time of year where there will likely be some pushback against the rules of some sort. And then around December 24th, that's the final Saturn-Uranus square, and that's also going to be kind of a time of upheaval. So yeah, that is the astrology of the week. Pretty intense. Once again, do calming activities. Don't overdo it. Don't try anything risky. Take a break from social media and technology and be in your body as much as possible. And take care of yourselves. This is an intense time, and we all just need to breathe. So, yeah. I'd love to hear how the week goes for you, if you feel like commenting. Otherwise, I'll be back next week with another astrology update. Okay, have a good day.